Yeah, 20 years later, we're still moving forward, man.
How can you not be inspired? It's a great moment.
When we had the first conferences in the early 2000s against the backdrop of the drug wars of the 80s and 90s, we were all individually up against some very difficult obstacles.
There was not a lot of recognition that wrongful convictions were actually inherent in the system, ingrained in the system.
Milestone in the effort to use DNA evidence to free wrongfully convicted prisoners.
Just because our justice system says someone is guilty, it doesn't mean that.
I think what a lot of people don't realize about the early days is there weren't that many of us, and even among those who were doing it, there was often disagreement about how best to do things.
When you're first starting out in this work, it takes a long time to free people. So being at the conference and seeing like, okay, these people did it, we can do it too, it was an incredible motivator and an incredible way to learn.
I think we knew from the very beginning that this work was transformative.
When I first started at the Innocence Project, I actually kept my distance from exonerated clients. I thought that that might take away some of the objectivity. Meeting Marvin at the conference kind of broke through that wall.
When I first came to one of these conferences, it was the first time I actually got a chance to relax. I knew I was surrounded by people that believed in me.
The first one, I remember there were just 32 people that put white roses in a vase and said, but for that, I would have been executed.
And people could relate to those stories in a way that they couldn't relate to data.
Every wrongful thing that could happen in any criminal case, my case consisted of that. And the early conference, it allowed other attorneys, students to gather and to learn from mistakes that was made.
You can meet eyewitness ID experts, talk to DNA experts, and you can just get a lot of inspiration.
With all these people that have overcome the most extraordinary experience you can have, they all have some kind of spiritual transcendence. That is something that you always feel in these conferences. These are very, very special people.
There's a part of the conference that early on years, we used to always call the individual names and have them come up on the stage.
I remember that in Atlanta, when everybody came forward, the stage almost collapsed.
I mean, you can put two gigantic ballrooms together, that stage still would not be big enough for all of us.
I think going forward, we can really try to use the conference, to use that massive gathering of freed and exonerated people to serve as a catalyst for reforms in the cities where the conference is being held.
I would say that for many, including myself, the conference was life-altering. When we first started gathering, there were 2 states that had law that govern post-conviction DNA testing. And now there's a law in every state.
2 people start from just a dream, and then all of a sudden, boom, you know, it's spreading. It's helped me to believe in life again.
There's never been a bad conference. You know, every time you walk somebody out of prison, you get that kind of electric charge. And so seeing so many of them together is fantastic.
We're overwhelmed, frankly, by the growth of this network. So it's stunning.
"20 years. I'm getting old." But it's a good old. Yeah.